Labour's autumn budget has detonated like a political landmine, and at the centre of the blast is Chancellor Rachel Reeves. Families, EV owners, and even Green advocates are furious, accusing Reeves of betraying her own climate promises. Critics are calling it a war on ordinary drivers, with Reeves's policy shifts threatening to crush electric vehicle adoption, derail net zero goals, and alienate key voter groups. As outrage spreads across the nation, we're left asking, how did Labour's so-called green agenda descend into chaos so quickly?
Madam Deputy Speaker, we want to support the take-up of electric vehicles, so I will maintain the incentives for electric vehicles in company car tax from 2028 and increase the differential between fully electric and other vehicles in the first-year rates of vehicle excise duty from April 2025. These measures will raise around £400 million by the end of the forecast period.
The controversy began with Reeves's decision to scrap the long-standing tax exemption for electric vehicles, EVs. The change, which takes effect in April 2024, will hit families where it hurts the most, their wallets. Electric vehicles priced above £40,000, a category that now includes the majority of mid-range family-friendly electric cars, will be subject to a luxury car tax of £425 annually for 5 years. Combined with a new vehicle excise duty, VED, of £10 in the first year and £195 annually thereafter, EV owners will be facing over £3,100 in additional costs during the first 6 years of ownership. This policy reversal is a dramatic departure from Labour's previous stance on green incentives. Until now, electric vehicles had been exempt from these charges to encourage adoption and help the UK meet its ambitious climate targets. Reeves' decision to end these benefits has sent shockwaves through the industry and sparked a wave of anger among drivers. Many are accusing Labour of abandoning its climate commitments in favour of short-term revenue gains. What's particularly infuriating for many is the outdated threshold for the luxury car tax. The £40,000 limit has remained static since its introduction in 2017, despite years of inflation and rising vehicle prices. Adjusted for inflation, the threshold would now be closer to £51,827, sparing many family-focused EVs from the surcharge. Instead, vehicles like the Volkswagen ID.3 and Kia Niro EV, once celebrated as accessible options for middle-class families, are now being treated as luxury items. Worse still, the tax will apply even if the car is sold to a new owner, meaning second-hand buyers will also bear the brunt of these changes. For families who made the switch to EVs believing they were investing in a greener future, this policy feels like a betrayal. Social media erupted almost immediately after the announcement, with hashtags like #Reeves tax and #Labour EV fail trending within hours. One user tweeted, "I bought an EV to help the planet, and now I'm being punished for it. How is this fair?" Another accused Labour of taxing the green revolution into oblivion. Industry experts have been equally vocal. Ginny Buckley, founder of electrifying.com, described the policy as short-sighted and counterproductive. She warned that £40,000 doesn't represent luxury in the EV market. This policy penalises families and businesses that need reliable, long-range vehicles. Stuart Masson, editor of the Car Expert UK, agreed, saying the tax will discourage EV adoption at a time when it is desperately needed. "This decision will slow progress toward net zero goals," he said. "It's poorly thought out and risks alienating key voter groups Labour can't afford to lose." The timing of Reeves's policy couldn't be worse. EV adoption in the UK is already falling short of targets, with electric cars accounting for just 18% of new vehicle sales, far below the 22% needed to stay on track for net zero goals. Experts warn that the new taxes will further dampen demand, pushing the UK even further off course. But it's not just electric vehicle owners who are outraged. Labour's broader transportation policies are drawing fire as well. In Liverpool, a Labour-run council has announced plans to raise parking fees by up to 60% in what it claims is an effort to encourage public transport use. While the council argues that the move is necessary to address budget shortfalls, critics say it disproportionately impacts working-class families who rely on their cars for daily commutes. The new parking charges, which include increases of up to 57% for on-street parking, have been described as another stealth tax on ordinary drivers. These policies are fueling a growing sense of disillusionment with Labour, particularly in rural areas. A recent poll commissioned by the Country Land and Business Association, CLA, revealed that 2/3 of voters in England's most rural constituencies believe Labour doesn't understand or respect rural communities. Reform UK, which had previously been dismissed as a fringe party, is now gaining traction among disaffected voters. In these rural areas, Reform has surged to 21%, tying Labour and trailing the Conservatives by just 13 points. The countryside backlash has been particularly fierce over Labour's proposed changes to inheritance tax, which could devastate family farms. The new rules, set to take effect in April 2026, will limit full tax relief to the first £1 million of farmland and assets, with anything above that subject to a 20% tax. The CLA has warned that these changes could wipe out profits for many farms, making them financially unsustainable. Farmers have already staged protests over the issue, and another major demonstration is planned for December 11th, with organisers warning that nothing is off-limits. The pressure is mounting on Reeves and the Labour leadership. Within the party, murmurs of dissent are growing louder as MPs in marginal constituencies fear the fallout from these policies could cost them their seats. Tomorrow's opposition day in Parliament is expected to be a critical test. The Conservatives are planning to force a vote on the family farm tax, putting Labour MPs in rural constituencies in an impossible position. Will they stand with their constituents and risk defying party leadership? Or will they toe the line and face a voter backlash? Public opinion appears to be shifting rapidly. A recent poll found that 57% of voters now trust Labour less than they did before the autumn budget, with rural voters particularly disillusioned. Labour had hoped the budget would demonstrate the party's competence and vision for the future. Instead, it has sparked a wave of anger and disillusionment that could have lasting consequences. Reeves's decision to target electric vehicles, a cornerstone of the UK's green agenda, has left many questioning Labour's commitment to fighting climate change. For drivers who invested in EVs believing they were part of the solution, this feels like a slap in the face. With protests, parliamentary showdowns, and public outrage all intensifying, Labour finds itself at a crossroads. Will Reeves double down on her policies, or will she bow to public pressure and reverse course? The stakes couldn't be higher, and the fallout from this scandal is far from over. One thing is certain, the road to net zero has never looked more uncertain. If you're as shocked as we are by these developments, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more explosive updates on UK politics and the scandals that shape our future.